can be very valuable in your small business. And then there's going to be some support also for you from the mayor's office to help you do that. So that being said, let me go to the next slide. As you know, Mayor Danilo Vargas, she's the mayor of Miami-Dade County, and she loves our small business owners, as do I. And so we are trying to make sure that we create programs and support services to help you thrive and to help you grow your business and create that dream that you envision in your life, right? Because every business is a dream. And so that's the way I look at it. It's a serious business, right? Pursuing your dream. So we want to make sure that you have the tools. That's why Scale Up 305 exists. It's an investment by Miami-Dade County and the mayor. And that's why this program called Strive 305 exists, to give you that support, because the mayor wants to make sure that it's easier than ever for you to start and grow your small business. And we are very serious about that. And so I want you to know that now is a very unique time in the history of Miami-Dade County. We have a great mayor, but on top of that, despite the many challenges that we're facing, now is the time for you to take your dream to the next level. Okay, so if you're ready and you're serious about it, there are support services for you. So don't feel like you have to do this alone. It takes a village, like they say. But really, if you're ready, we're ready. And so what I'm going to show you today is something that you can start putting into use tomorrow in your small business. Okay, so that being said, I want to ask you one of the fundamental questions that we should ask in any class that we're in, including this one, right? And that is, why should we bother with making a business plan? Like, is that really something that's necessary? So I wanted to just make a couple of points here. Number one, everything in life that we do in all our activities, right? Let's say we wanted to go to the movies and decide to go see the new Black Panther movie that's coming out this week. We would have to make a bunch of decisions, right, in order to make that happen. Like what time are we going? What day are we going? Do we want to meet up before and have dinner? Do we want to meet up afterwards and have dinner? All these types of decisions go into you doing something as simple as going to the movies with some friends. Okay? So it's all about decisions, and our brains are so good at making decisions that for simple things like that, we can make decisions and plan things almost invisibly, right? We don't even perceive that we're doing all this work, but our minds are working. They're creating the plans that you need to go to the movies with your friends. Okay, so it seems easy, but what happens when you are tackling something as big and sometimes daunting as starting your own business? Do you think that we can just wing it and kind of go into default mode and think that we'll figure it out along the way? Sadly, that's the tack that most small business owners and entrepreneurs take. They don't take the time to plan. If I talk to 100 small business owners or entrepreneurs, golly, I think like 97 of them don't have business plans, not updated, that they're using every single day. So it's like going on a big, long trip across the country. We've never done that. So we don't have experience past Orlando or past Tallahassee. And we're going to go all the way across the country. And we're going to go to California and Santa Monica Pier, let's say, or the Ocean Pacific Highway, Pacific Coast Highway. Let's say we were going to go all the way over there. We would need a map. We would need to make so many decisions to do that. And that's a simple example. Now imagine creating a business, something that for many of us is brand new. So when you start out in something, there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of things that we don't even know that we don't know, right? So how can we possibly get to our destination if we haven't created a map or a plan to get there? So that's the challenge of not having a small business plan in place for our endeavor. And so we need that map. We need to consult with that map. How often? Every day, right? We need to know what to do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday as we're hustling and working hard to build that dream and turn it into a reality. So the key to that is having a business plan. So I want everybody, let's make a game out of it. Let's make sure that everybody who's on this Zoom call is actually going to have a business plan, in either already has one, will update it and finish it, or we'll create what I'm going to show you today and have it ready to go so that we can review it. You guys know that I'm available for one-on-one consultations for free, no cost to you. And so I can review your one-page business plan and I can help you stress test it, right? The beautiful thing about a business plan is that by planning, you're making the mistakes on paper. You're not making them out there in the real world where they cost money, cost time. And if they go wrong, we end up being frustrated, like being on a trip cross country and running out of gas, right? Now, oh my God, now we have a crisis. Now we have to call AAA and now we have to wait by the side of the road and we don't have food. We haven't eaten, we're thirsty. All these complications happen to us because we didn't take the time to plan. So we're going to use the key to success, which is business plans. And researchers have looked into how effective business plans are. And it turns out that business plans improve your chances of succeeding at building your dream by up to 30%. Now imagine if somebody said, hey, I can make you 30% stronger, 30% faster, 30% smarter, right? Wouldn't that be an awesome gift that someone can give you? Well, you can give that gift to your business by making it 30% more likely that it will succeed because you've done the work to really think through all the decisions, all the choices that you have to make, right? Because a plan is not an essay, right? A plan is not this 20, 30 page document that you're going to just go ahead and, create. And then you're going to put it in the shelf. It's actually a bunch of decisions, right? So think about the movie example. We have to make a bunch of decisions, not too hard, not too complicated, but for a business, and especially if we don't have a lot of experience with business, we have to make 360 degrees of decisions and choices. And when we don't create that plan, what we're saying is in various areas of my business, I haven't made a decision. I haven't made a choice, and therefore it's in limbo, right? So that's what we want to avoid. We want to make sure we look at the whole 360 degrees of what it takes to start your business and grow it and make those decisions and choices because we cannot afford to ignore them because we know that whatever we ignore is going to come back later and, get us in trouble. Now, there is a problem with business plans, and this is something that is my pet peeve, right? Because when I've been going to seminars, I'm an entrepreneur, and back in 2000, I didn't know much about entrepreneurship. That's 23 years ago. Didn't know much. So I was going to all the different classes and lectures about, and of course, back then they were telling me the same thing. You need a business plan. Okay, great. But one of the things that I've realized is that nobody has a business plan. And sometimes they're boring to create because you're sitting there basically writing an essay based on what you think and your research is leading you to believe about a marketplace. So you have to understand that the business plan has to reflect the reality of the marketplace today. So research can never tell you that. It can only tell you, like looking at the rearview mirror on this trip, what happened in the past. But at some point, you have to know what's going on today, and no research will give you that. And the only way to really come to grips with that is by talking to the customer and engaging with the customer, seeing where they're at and seeing how you can position your product or service in a way that makes sense for them, that inspires them to buy from you, right? But what happens when you're writing an essay? Basically, you're writing and it seems like we're making things up even. Like these are things that we're making up that are not connected to the marketplace itself. So we want to make it real. We want to make it something that you use every single day. And the business plan, guys, is not for the bank. It is not for the bankers. Okay? It's your map to get to your dream, to get to the treasure that we're looking for. So it's your tool. It's not to impress anybody but you as the CEO of your small business. Okay? And so keep that in mind because that's the problem with business plans. Number one, they're daunting. They require all this research. At the end of the day, entrepreneurs suspect the truth that they're not as effective because they're divorced from the reality of the marketplace. And on top of that, we write them. Sometimes we pay for other people to write them, which I think is a big no-no, right? You should never pay somebody to write your business plan unless, of course, you already have gone through a process where you understand all the decisions. And now you're hiring somebody to polish it up for you. That perhaps, because when you take it to the bank to get that money that you need, let's say you need $100,000 from the bank, you're going to need a nice, solid, great looking business plan. Yeah, hire somebody to polish it for you. But you need to make the decisions, not that person. But I've come across many business plans that were written by technical support agencies. And that doesn't work because it's your dream and you need to make the choices and decisions that constitute your business plan. So those are some of the challenges around business plans and the problem that they engender for us. But today I want to show you a hack about how you can forget about the essay, forget about 20 pages, put it on one page. What should go on that one page, right? And I'm going to show you that today. So first of all, it's based on something called the business model canvas. Okay. So what I'm going to show you, I'm calling it the one-page business plan, but really it is the business model canvas. And you guys can Google this at your leisure and check it out for yourselves. But basically this was invented by a gentleman called by the name of Alexander Osterwalder. And Osterwalder, was a person that in the 90s and in the late 80s or 90s, he went back to the literature in the early 2000s when he got interested in business models. And he was looking at that idea and he noticed that the literature in business didn't really speak about business models. There was nothing really written about it. And so there was very little guidance on what a business model was, etc. Right? And you guys know that in 1993, 94, 95, in those years, when the internet was born, right, and the digital economy came online, you know that business was revolutionized because now you had this digital space, right? What was it called back then? The information superhighway, right? Websites were brand new back in 1995. Nobody had a website in 95, but in 98, it's like, you should probably have a website. 99, 2000, you should probably have a website. 2001, 2002, we should be on social media probably, right? Facebook was born like in 05 or I forget the exact years. But I remember 1998, that's when Google was born. I was one of the first users of Google and I was telling everybody what Google was because they didn't know. And so I loved it because it was none of this junk anymore. It was like, if you're looking for something, you typed it on Google and you got the results. Before Google, there was a lot of junk you had to dig through to find the stuff you were looking for. So during the digital revolution, think about what that did to business, right? Because now it's digitized. So the way business is conducted completely exploded in new ways, right? You couldn't do Zoom back in 1995, before 1989 or 1990. Couldn't do it. It was impossible. Now look what we're doing. We're all over Miami-Dade County and we're having a class about building business plans. So you can imagine the revolution that this created in business. So what happens when you're doing business plans and you're an investor and you want to invest in a business, right? What happens is that the CEO might tell you, look, we have this great idea. It's going to do this, this, and this, and this. But how are you as an investor in Silicon Valley going to know if that idea is any good, right? If what they're telling you, it makes sense. You're reading an essay that's 30 pages long, 40, 50, 100 pages long if it's a big business, right? So who has the time to look at all those pages? And sometimes people cheated and just went to the financial statements, but they were all projections. So how do you know if that's even true? And if it's based on real assumptions? There was no tool to simplify the process of evaluating all these investment possibilities in this new world of the digital economy. So Osterwalder studied business models and came up with this concept of the business model canvas because he noticed that every business, whether it's the gas station down the street or it's Zoom or Facebook or the metaverse, right? No matter what kind of business it is, it has four things that they share in common. Number one, they all have a product or a service, right? Across the board, every type of business has a product or a service. Secondly, every business has a customer interface. What that means is that there's some way that the business relates to the customer, right? It might be at a store, it might be on a website, it might be in an app, it might be in the metaverse, right? But there's always some kind of customer interface where the customer and the owner of the business owner or the business engage in a conversation or in some kind of transaction. And then, of course, every business has some kind of infrastructure, the machines, the employees, all the things that we need to deliver the product or service. And lastly, every single business has some sort of financial aspects to it, right? How do we make money? How do we make profit? What's revenue? What drives revenue? What is our cost structure, right? What are our cost of goods sold? whatever cost of services sold, right? All that stuff are financial aspects of every single business, whether it's digital or analog. So that's his big breakthrough. And he came up, excuse me, with these 4 pillars, of which he called them, right, of the business model canvas. And here it is. Okay, here are the 4 pillars in different colors. So the blue one is the value proposition, right? The product or service that you make. This is the value, the gift, and you're going to give it to the customer, right? So everything in green has to do with how we give that gift to the customer. And of course, once you do that, notice that below that is a box called revenue. All that activity, the gift that you're giving, and the customers and how you engage with them will generate revenue for you, right? And notice that at the bottom in the pink here, you have the value proposition straddling both the revenue side and the expense side. Because in business, right, there's revenue and then there's cost, right? It's a ledger. So there's a balance you have to strike. So the value proposition has to strike both of them, right? It generates revenue, but guess what? You have to create the value that bears a cost on that business. And so because of that, you have to look at the other side, which is the orange side, right? You need partners. You can't do it alone, right? No business owner can do it alone. And that's one of the things. If you think you can do it alone, please stop thinking that, because you're going to need a team around you, right? That could be Scale Up 305. It could be Strive 305, right? These are services that are being offered to you for free. Get us on your team. But there's other people that you need on your team, or other entities that you need on your team. And then those folks create activities, and then there's resources that we utilize to do the activities, and then that creates expenses, right? Some things are free, but some things are not, right? And we have to pay for them. So once you think through all these 4 pillars and these 9 boxes, guess what you have? You have basically touched 90% of the key considerations and assumptions that you need to make in your planning process. So basically, this is the first step in you creating that business plan. And I don't mean a first step like there's 10 other steps. No, this is the first step, and it covers 90% of what you need to cover. Once you have this filled out, you can then write the 30 pages or 20 pages, right? You can write it easily because you've already thought through all of these concepts here. And also remember that there's 9 boxes here, and it may look like, oh, Danny, that's easy, man. I'll fill it up right now. Okay, great. But I guarantee you that you will have to go through a process of iteration, which means you're going to have to create version 1, and you might not be finished till you have version 15 of this same document that starts tonight, right? Because you might give it to me and tell me, Danny, here's my 1-page business plan. This is version 3. I've already refined it as much as I can. Give me your feedback on it. I give you my feedback on it, and then you revise it again. That's version 4. Then you take it to other partners like Scale Up 305. Have them try to stress test your assumptions, right? You want to make the mistakes here on the paper, not in the real world where it's going to cost money, time, and tears, right? Because when things don't work, like I said, if you're lost in a trip cross country, it's painful, right? To be lost and to be, wasting time and, with a flat tire on the side of the road and no way of dealing with that. It's horrible. We don't want to live through that as much as we can, right? There's always going to be a risk, but you want to minimize the amount of risk. You do that by writing it in your plan and having people stress test it, giving you their feedback, and then you modifying. Sometimes you might have to run experiments. A lot of this methodology comes from the lean startup methodology, right? If you guys are familiar with lean and agile and all these things that we used to be experts at, that we taught the Japanese, right? The Toyota production system. The Americans taught them that. They perfected it, and they still use it to this very day. Toyota is one of the best manufacturers on the planet, and they use a lean structure for getting things done, which means that they prototype. They don't invest all this money to go try to sell it and then find out that there's nobody interested in buying it. They don't do that. Then what they do is they create a little prototype that doesn't cost much money, and then you give it to the customer, see if they like it. If they like it, then you keep making it better and better and better before you invest the big bucks, right, in actually manufacturing the whole thing and getting it out there and marketing and promotion and all that good stuff. All right. So you test it, you prototype it. All of you can do that. If you're interested in launching a new product or service, you can put it on in this one-page business plan just for that product or service, right? And you can stress test it, and you can prototype your planning and the product and see if the customer how they react. You almost have to be like a scientist, kind of putting something out there, see how they react, and taking notes so that you can take that back to the lab and make the offering stronger next time, and stronger and stronger. Probably the most famous case of this was Fitbit. Fitbit launched Fitbit as a Kickstarter many years ago. And they didn't have an actual device. They may have had some blueprints for the device, but what they had was a really fancy website that had really fancy photography of prototypes, right? That they could have been digitally created for all I know. They don't necessarily have to have been real watches or real bands. They could have been just digitally created and make them look perfectly real. And so they put the Kickstarter out, and they raised a bunch of money. People wanted that device so badly, because back then there was nothing that you could do to measure your movement. Nothing. And so to be athletic and measure what you're doing for exercise, nothing. That came on board. They saw that there was a massive demand. They actually refunded the people's money and told them, your Fitbit is reserved. All you have to do is pay for it when we launch it in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. And so they gave everybody their money back, but guess what they had done? They have proven that there was a market there. Now I ask you, if they had sat around writing an essay for 30 pages about, the portable device, wearable device market and where it's headed, it was all speculation, right? The research wasn't going to tell you what's going to happen. It only can tell you what's already happened. So it would have been pure speculation. They would have invested all these millions of dollars in building the device only to then launch it. Like, for example, the Microsoft Zune, right? Versus the iPod. It failed miserably. How much money that went into creating that Microsoft Zune, only to have Microsoft later find out that really nobody wanted it. They already had an iPod. Then they had the iPhone. So we don't need it. But all that money was spent because there wasn't this lean prototyping mentality behind the planning that was going on. So this is very much steeped in that, right? So this is what the plan looks like. All of you should have gotten this PDF, both of the colored one and this one. And this is the one that you're going to fill out, okay? Not tonight. I just want you to hear me tonight and ask me any questions and engage in a conversation if you want to about these 9 boxes. I just want to explain them to you and explain this document, because my hope and my sincere desire tonight is that for you going forward, for the rest of your career as an entrepreneur, whether your current business succeeds or you decide to divest in that business and start a new one and another one and another one, right? You will start using this methodology so that your, what I call your hit rate, like going to bat in a Major League Baseball game, right? You hit that ball, right? More often than you get struck out. So very important. So that's what I want to explain to you, is how to use this document. So, and you see all the 9 boxes and you have the PDF. I encourage you to print out multiple copies of it and go through version 1, version 2, version 3, till you have done such a great job of distilling your assumptions that you actually can put it down in specific words, not long sentences. At first, it's okay. You're going to start with long descriptive sentences. But once you have this really dialed in, you can actually write it almost like in shorthand for the different things that constitute every single box. So it doesn't have to be wordy. It could be very straightforward and simple. But you have to remember, simplicity is not easy. Simplicity takes a lot of work to get to. So you have to like distill it, start with the big ideas and then slowly get to the core of those ideas, right? So that being said, I want to ask you a question. This is a question for you guys. Look at these boxes. Where does it make sense to start filling out? That's a quiz, pop quiz. Anybody, please open your mic and chime in. Value proposition?
Yes.
Okay. That's a good assumption. But it's actually not the place to start. Where else might you start?
The customer?
I am.
You got it. Somebody else was going to comment?
Oh, I was just going to say, I was thinking key activities, because you need to at least identify the services or products that you're selling.
I love it. So yes, I see you all have points about why that could be the logical starting point. But, and this goes back to the lean methodology, right? It always begins with the customer, right? So remember what I said about the Zune, Microsoft Zune? You start with the customer and you study the customer till you figure out what that customer is looking for. And then you build that for them. Does that make sense? Not the other way around. You can be successful by starting with the value proposition and creating something of value that you think is of value for them. But that's dangerous because your assumptions could be wrong. So you start out with the people. I like to think about it as I start out with the people that I care and love. For me, it's very simple. I start with you guys. I love small business owners. Why? Because you guys are courageous, you're dreamers. If you're successful, it's going to be good for all of us. So I'm on fire. I start with you guys. And then I work backwards and figure out what does my customer, what do they need? What are they struggling with? What nightmares do they have at night? What is their dream? What problems do they have? What desires or needs do they have? And how can I, with my abilities, my talent, my skills, connect with that customer and give them something that will hopefully change their life? So this is very important, guys. It seems subtle, but it's very important. Start with the customer first and work backwards to the value proposition, because you will be more effective and save time and money and tears by doing it that way. Because once you know the customer, just like Fitbit, once you know the customer wants this, go build it, hurry up, build it before somebody else does, and go put it on the market. And remember what they did. They actually got orders. You guys can all do this because, if you're thinking about building something this big, hey, build a prototype of it and test to see if they want the big thing first, right? Build it this big and put it in front of them and say, hey, do you want it? Yes or no? Do you want it at this price or at this price? Please choose. That's data that you're not going to find in the library. You're not going to find it doing market research. It's a form of market research, but it's the form that makes sense for us, right? So be very iterative, which means that, go talk to the customer, go talk to them, understand them, then put something in front of them, see what they do. And then keep refining that until you have something that they're ready to buy because it just makes sense, right? Somebody that had a horse and was saying that, my goodness, that this horse takes too long to get from A to B. And then you come along with a car and they have the wherewithal to buy it. They're not going to debate that. They're going to buy your car. Henry Ford knew that, right? But he also said something else that was interesting. He said that if I had asked customers what they wanted, people would have told me they wanted a faster horse, right? So they weren't thinking car. So that's where you come to innovate, because once you know what the customer is struggling with, you can create an innovation to help them with that struggle. And once they see that, my goodness, you can have a horse, you can have this Model T, you pick. It won't take long till they're like trying to get the money to get the Model T, right? So that's the approach where you were going to start, right? So customer segments, part one. So start here, okay? Number one, you need to be clear on 3 things about your customer. Number one, geography, which is a fancy way of saying, where are they? Now, one thing I've learned is that, we can say I serve all of South Florida, but can we really? Can I really serve Miami-Dade, Broward, and West Palm Beach? Maybe, I don't know. But when I'm starting out and I don't have a lot of capital, probably not, right? So I always tell people, stay close to home. If your office or your home is here, create a circle with a 5-mile radius around there, and you go to work in that territory. Don't try to go 30 miles, because if you're cleaning commercial real estate and you got to travel 30 miles to get to clean something, and then 30 back to get back, that limits your ability. That business model is not going to work. And remember, a business model is how you make money. That's all a business model is how do you make money? Okay? So that's what we're talking about. How do we make money? If it's too far away, we might not make it. Now, we all want to sell globally one day. So I want you to have big dreams about maybe making the whole world your territory. But to start out, wherever you are in your business stage of development, you got to figure out what's the geography where my customers are located that I can actually serve. Okay. So maybe it's a 5-mile, 10-mile radius from where you are now. Circle that on a map. They are your customers. Okay. But that's not enough to just know where they're physically located, right? You got to know demographics. So what are demographics? It's a confusing little word, but what it means is literally a physical description of the customer. And we can talk about a human being and we can talk about a company, an organization. Both of them have demographics, though they are different, right? So for human beings, we say it's a male or a female. And by the way, please, please, please understand that everybody is not going to buy from us. I don't care how good we are. Some people are not going to pay attention to us. And that's okay, right? For many reasons. I don't take it personal. They may not be in the market for what I'm selling. They may not be able to afford what I'm selling. And simply, they might not be interested. They might not be ready to make a decision, right? It's okay. But know that everybody's not your customer. So you have to segment your customer. So that's why it's called customer segments. You can't say my customer are women. Well, that can't work because women can be in their 20s and a woman can be in their 60s. And I would argue that those two women, right, see the world very differently and have tastes that are very different and have, stories that are very different and problems and needs that are very different. So we can't say women. We got to be specific about, okay, what age group are you talking about? What is their salary? What is their household income? These are all demographic measures, right? And we can do some research about that. And the fact of the matter is that there's certain people that drive Jaguars and there's other people that drive Hondas, right? Different strokes for different folks, right? That's what makes the world great. So you got to know what the demographics of your customers are so that you're clear on that. Now, if we're talking about a business, that's a little bit different because then you have to think about what is the size of the business, right? But before the size, let me just say this. You should know what industry they're in. Every business has an NAICS code, right? Which kind of is like the SIC code, the old SIC codes, but just more modern and more specific. And so look up the NAICS code of the customer you think you want and do some research about that industry and what they're struggling with, what the problems in that industry are, what's keeping up those business owners in that industry at night, what's keeping them up at night, what's giving them nightmares, right? Look into that so that you can come and solve their problems. Also, the size in terms of revenue, that's a demographic measure. How many employees they have is a demographic measure, and a bunch of other things, right, that you can look up about that business. Those are all demographic measures, descriptions of some of the physical qualities that you can observe about that human being or that business, okay? And the last thing, and I'm going to open up for questions on this one bucket of customer segments, is psychographics, which is another fascinating one, right? Again, fancy word. All it means is get into the head of your customer. Get out of your head, get out of your vantage point on the world and look at the world through their eyes. What are their values? What are their aspirations? What are their desires? What are their needs? What do they struggle with? What are their dreams? What are their nightmares? What do they worry about, right? Are they happy, not happy? What are they looking for in this life, right? All these psychological ways of looking at the world you want to understand for your customer because you're going to have to tap into them as you try to inspire them to do business with you and not all your competitors, which are many, right? You don't have one, you don't have two, you have hundreds of competitors. And one of the strongest competitors is the status quo, right? I can just do what I've always done. I don't need to buy anything. So everybody has a competitor. And sometimes not doing anything is the competition, right? They're happy with their car. So why would they upgrade to this car? They're happy with their current provider. Why are they going to upgrade with you, right? We got to answer those questions and we have to get kind of in their heads. The good news about this is that 20 years ago, my God, this was hard work. But now in the world of Facebook, you can just look up that business or look up that person and they tell you what they're dealing with in their life. I used to have the analogy of, go ahead, please. What's the question?
Did you say NAICS regarding
NAICS? Yeah, NAICS.
Yes.
And don't ask me what it stands for. It's a national codes or whatever. I don't know. I don't have it
Yeah,
in front of me what exactly it
They're
stands
asking,
for.
did you say NAICS regarding business information?
Regarding what industry the business is in. So, for example, if I wanted to target engineers, I would have to know what kind of engineers, right? Maybe they're civil engineers. Okay, so civil engineers have a particular NAICS code. That's very valuable because then I can go and do some research about that industry and that code and see what they're struggling with. That gives me ideas about what kind of value proposition I want to create for them. Make sense? So psychographics, again, is that idea of getting into your customer's head, understanding them as human beings, what their desires are. Because like we've talked before, branding is all about touching people's emotions, right? And making them feel great about themselves. That's what your business should do for them, right? So that's the first step, customer segments. Any other questions about this block? Okay, great. So you're not going to be general. You're not going to say everybody's going to buy or all women are going to buy. You're going to segment by geography, by demographics, and by psychographics. And when you do that, guess what? You should have a picture of your typical customer, right? What does that customer look like? Give them a name. This could be John. He's a typical customer, young, college educated, right? And likes this, and this, and has these needs. Looks at the world this way, believes that blah, 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 blah. There's actually templates you can find online to build out your buyer personas. Don't try to chase 3, 4, 5, 6 buyer personas because we're not Coca-Cola now. You know, we don't have tons of money. Remember, the more buyer personas you have, the more money it takes to reach those people. And you have, yes, you do have to buy customers. So it's expensive to advertise and do marketing. So don't start with too many buyer personas, but start with 1 or 2. And profile them so that you have an idea of who, and put them up on your wall. That's the person you want to serve. That's the person you love, the person you care about, the person you want to make sure that you connect with and engage with, right? Engagement being that it's a communication 2 ways, not 1 way, not just me reaching to that person, but that person reaching back to me and engaging with my brand. That's what I want. Who do you care about? Put a picture of that person. Don't just make it like an anonymous blob. This kind of like picture that you see sometimes when you're on social media, you have a little icon and it just shows a person in silhouette. You don't see any features. Don't make it like that. Not anonymous. Put a face to that person. Who do you care about? Who do you want to serve? Who do you love? Okay? That's the key. It's so important. It seems so simple what I just said, but my goodness, it can make the difference. Okay? Now, we're going to give that person a gift. Okay? So the value proposition is a gift. It's your gift to them, right? Look at it like that. Don't look at it, oh, I'm creating a product or a service. Yes, you are, but essentially that's a gift. And this is the beauty, and this is the thing that inspires me about small business owners, is that every single one of them wants to share their gift with people. Yeah, we all want to make money. All of us want to make a ton of money, right? Nothing wrong with that. But that's not what drives us. What drives us is being of service to others and seeing that smile of that customer and them saying, oh, I love what you did for me. Thank you so much. Or it was delicious. Or I couldn't believe that you did that for me. That's the real payment in your business, isn't it? And if we can get paid to do that good work, God's work, oh my God, you're in heaven. That's the dream, right? That's the trip that we want to be on. To do good work and serve others and get paid handsomely for it. That's the game, right? So you're giving them a gift. And so what does that mean, the value proposition? So what is it that is unique about your gift that they can't get anywhere else, right? They can't get it anywhere else. Is it because it's scarce or unique in some way? Is it because it's more convenient than the competition? Is it because it's more beautiful, right? Or you make it in a way that is so advanced and so intelligent that it just beats the pants off the competition? Or is it better, faster, or easier, right? Do you have a good price or a better price? Can you compete on that? Or can you even tell the customer, listen, you're going to invest X amount, but your return on investment is going to be X times 10, right? Or 10X. So maybe that's the value proposition, right? Or is it more premium? Does it bestow a sense of luxury, right? And prestige? Do you change somebody's status because they received the gift, right? And funny thing about gifts, you extend it out to them and they have to take it. right? Just because we extend it out doesn't mean it's a gift. If it's not received, then it's not a gift. So let's be clear about that, right? That we can put out messaging and all this stuff that we're doing and all the things that we think are valuable to others, but they have to receive the gift and say, I love it. Hopefully they pay you well, and that yields a profit for you. We know that's possible, right? Apple makes insane profits. They have more money than I don't know who, but the universe put together. You know, they have billions just saved and stacked up. Why? Because people love these devices so much that they're willing to pay a premium for them. And that yields the bestower of the gift a big profit, right? So that's the game. So they have to receive it. Also, the value proposition might be singular or unforgettable experience, right? That you create for customers. They come into your restaurant, you're going to treat them like they've never been treated before. They come into your bakery, you're going to love them so much that they're going to always come back and tell 10 friends about you. Maybe you lower their costs, increase their profits, help them reach their dreams. You know, Zig Ziglar used to say, you can have anything you want if you'll just help enough people get what they want. Okay, so maybe that's what you're doing in your business. You're helping them be more successful, get more profits, get more sales, right? Maybe you can help lower their customer risk or reduce their liabilities or problems that they have, right? So you have to dig deep, look at your product and service, and really tell me, let's say I was an investor, tell me why your value proposition is unique. The customer can't get it anywhere else. And these are the 5 reasons why this is a no-brainer for that customer and why this is a valuable proposition in the marketplace, right? So that's what we have to do. And this takes a lot of work. In fact, there is a canvas just for this portion of the business model canvas. So you can get deep into this, right? To find how the business model can work. You know, sometimes business models don't work. You know, look at delivery of groceries. In 1999, during the dot-com bust, boy, there were a lot of dot-coms that were trying to have groceries delivered to your house. They all went bankrupt. They all failed. And now they're coming back a little bit, but they're kind of like downsized a little bit. They're not as ambitious as they used to be. And they're still struggling today because some business models are just tough. No matter what you do, no matter how you innovate, however you twist it around, the puzzle is very hard to solve. But put it on paper, see how you can innovate, get your team together, and see how you can deliver value that they can't get anywhere else. If you're delivering something that's only a little bit better than the competition, you might make a little bit of money, but is that going to stand the test of time for a long time? Probably not. So you want to create something that's truly unique, truly something they can't get anywhere else. And it's not as hard as you think, because a lot of that means leaning on you. Guess what's unique about your business? You. You are the most unique person. I cannot duplicate you. I cannot clone you. Not yet anyways, right? I cannot take your spirit, your heart, your soul, and put it into another human being, even if I could clone you. So leaning into that is a powerful way of creating a valuable proposition for the customer. Be yourself. Share your expertise. That's a great way of differentiating it, because guess what? No one can copy you. There's only one of you. Right? So other people can do the same thing you do, but if you do it with that extra pizzazz, if you do it with that smile, if you do it in a way that makes people feel and light up and feel great about themselves, you get the deal, not the other person. So lead into your unique values and things that you have to offer, right? Your unique talents, your story of how you got here. That's inspirational. Too many times I see business owners, they don't have a blog. They're not showing off their expertise. You guys are all experts in what you do. So show it off. That's a big, powerful component of your value proposition. I guarantee it. Okay? Any questions on this block?
You're doing great.
No? Okay, great. And oh my God, I got to speed it up a little bit because I get into it and I could be here all night. So I'm going to go to the next one. Now, you have the customer identified, the person that you love, right? I like romance analogies in business. I don't use that military stuff. Like, I'm going to attack this market and we're going to do this and that. I don't like that stuff. I think of it as romance. I love these people, and how can I serve them? I have this value proposition I've created. Okay. Still not enough, right? I need to figure out what kind of relationship the customer wants from me. How do they want to engage with me? Now, this is an interesting one because, customer relationships can be very low tech or high tech. They can be very high touch or low touch. What do I mean by that? You see the picture I'm using here of Redbox? Well, that's a business model, isn't it? They're making money. They take your $1, they give you a DVD, you bring it back, and they made $1, right? Or $1 and change. Now I think it's like $2. So what happens? Do I talk to the Redbox representative? Is there a booth that I go to? Nope. I go to that machine, and I don't need no big relationship. I don't need nobody to help me or do one-on-one with me. None of that. I don't need an intimate relationship with Redbox. I just need that DVD, man. Can I get it quick? And can I get some good ones? Because I don't want some boring movies. I want the latest and greatest, blockbusters. Do you have them for $2? That means it's cheaper than Amazon. It's cheaper than what I can get on Netflix. Netflix doesn't have it. Amazon has it, but it's $15 or $10 or $5. I get it for $2 here. Great. See, that's a value proposition. I can't get it anywhere else, and it's just $2. Just give me the DVD. I'll go home. I'm already at the shopping mall. I'm already at the grocery store. I just transact. Take me 2 minutes because it's super efficient. The machine is well engineered so that it's not confusing. I don't have to go to college to learn how to master the use of it. So it's like boom, 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 boom. You're done. Give me the $1, right? Or give me your $2, and you're out the door. So you have to think about. And another example is Craigslist. Nobody helps you on Craigslist. There's no support staff for Craigslist. You just go there and use it, post your stuff, and you're on your way. The machine is so well engineered that you don't even need to have somebody there, right? That's a business model. That's a customer relationship. I don't need that extensive relationship. The value comes from something else, right? So you might want to think, does the customer want one-on-one attention? Does the customer want intimacy, like close communication, like intimacy like you might have with a therapist or a coach, right? They know about your personal situation and struggles. I don't know, maybe not. Customization, do they need the product to be customized, right? Do they need it to be personalized? Do they need it to be self-service? What does the customer expect from you under your idea of the business model and the value proposition? What kind of relationship do I need to have with the customer that they want and that I need in order to give them the value, the gift? That's the customer relationship. So think about that and understand that the more customized, the more personalized, the more high touch the relationship is, the more you should charge, because that's valuable. We just say you're the most valuable thing your company has, right? So your time is worth $150 and north of that. It's now worth $35 an hour. That's what employees get paid. You're not an employee anymore. You are a business owner. You're a CEO. Your job is to work through the labor of others if you want to build that big business. Now, you may want to be self-employed, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're trying to make a six-figure income, it's hard to do it being self-employed, right? So you may have to build some sort of organization to give you that six-figure income. I want all of you guys making six-figure incomes and hopefully multiple six-figure incomes in your small business plus your profit. Okay? That's the name of the game here. That's the dream. That's the trip we're on. And that's what we're fussing about this one-page business plan, because we need to get there. And I need to be working on that every day. And I need to use that plan every day. That's what we're doing, right? So the customer relationship is very important. Now, the next thing, and this is very straightforward, is that you need to understand is, okay, you have the customer, you have the value proposition, you have the relationship that you know the customer wants. Well, you still don't actually have the channel through which the customer is actually buying or engaging with the value proposition or the gift. So you need channels. It's a confusing word. I don't like it, but it is what they use in marketing. And the channel is anywhere the customer can connect with the business model, with your business, with your value. Where can they get the gift? Sometimes it's on your website. Sometimes it's at your store, your bakery, your accounting office, your wherever you do, right? Your jewelry store, online at the e-commerce, Shopify, right? Etsy. Those are all channels. And it doesn't have to be that they give you money for it to be a channel. Instagram, Facebook, right? TikTok, they're all channels, because customers are going there to consume value from you. So anywhere the customer connects with your brand, connects with your company, connects with the gift that you're giving, that's a channel. And you have to be mindful of those channels. And what I will say about those channels is that be careful not to select too many, because the idea is to get on one channel and crush it on that channel. Like really do your best work on that channel. It's better for you to have one channel that you're really going to work on, that you're really investing in, where you're really connecting with customers, you're really telling the story, than to have 7 channels. One of them is pretty good, and then the other 6 are kind of like whatever, right? You're kind of there, you're not there, you're not really engaging with people, you're not responding to, it's called social media for a reason, because they should go there and ask you questions, and you should be there responding to the question pretty quickly, not 5 days later. So pick your channel selectively, and I'm biased. I tell you, your platform online, your website is your number 1 channel, because that's your store in the cloud, right? If you don't have a physical store, your website is the most valuable channel. Please, please, please invest in your platform, because there's where you can tell your story like a pro. You really can't tell your story on these other channels like social media. You really can't. I mean, some of them are pretty darn cool. You can do a lot, but there's a problem with that. First of all, you don't control it. They can kick you out anytime they want. And you don't control the engagement. You're not in power there. You don't own that channel. So while it's useful, it doesn't trump your personal platform, your website. You have total control over your videos on there. You have total control over your blog posts, your podcasts, all the ways that you tell the customer how much you care about them. You control that 100%. So the number 1 channel is your website. The other channels are secondary. Your POS, if you have a cash register, or how you collect money, that's an important channel. Well, how you answer the phone is an important channel. If you use Google Voice and you answer right away, or you let it go to voicemail, that's a channel, right? Those are decisions about how you're going to manage that channel. Your Google profile online is a channel. Anywhere customers find you and consume value, some of the gift from you, that's a channel. My advice to you is pick a few that you're really going to work on, that you're really going to make them your best. You're going to do your best work and your best storytelling in that channel. And you're going to engage with the customers. You're going to be responsive. You're going to be proactive. You're going to reach out to them before they reach out to you, type of thing. Say hello. Just say, hey, just write in to say hello. Hope you're doing great. I saw that, your son was sick. I hope he's okay. Let me know if there's anything that kind of engagement is priceless, right? So use them at that level, not just to post a bunch of stuff. A lot of times it's just commercial messages. People just say, you know what we do? We just keep scrolling down. We ignore that stuff. We all do it. So if you're not speaking to my heart and you're just trying to sell me something, I'm just going to keep scrolling, right? So be mindful of your channels. You know what they are now. And the most important one is your website, your brick and mortar, your phone, your social media, all that stuff. Be selective, okay? And then lastly, you have the revenue. You have the customer, the value proposition, the relationship, you're working it, and you're delivering things through the channels. And guess what? That creates money, revenue for your business. That's not profit though. Don't get it twisted. Revenue is just money that's coming in. You could be a general contractor that brought in $1 million, but guess what? Your costs are 800,000 or 900,000. So you only get to keep 100,000, and those 100,000 probably have to go through a bunch of other expenses. So what was your profit? Very close to zero. So just because you have a lot of revenue doesn't mean you're making money. You got to look at the cost side to determine that. But you do want to be clear about how you're going to make money, right? So to me, revenue streams are like this menu here, right? You want scones, you want popcorn, you want nachos, you want a tortilla, hot dogs. What do you want, right? What are you selling? Don't just put, I'm going to sell coaching services, or I'm going to sell jewelry, or I'm going to sell technical support services, or I'm going to be a coach. That's going to generate revenue. No, what do you mean by that? Are you going to sell courses? Are you going to write a book and sell books? Are you going to create, events? Put coaching, put printed material or intellectual property, and put events in the revenue stream, and try to do some additional math as to what percentages of your income will come from that. Right? So be specific. Think about building a menu for a restaurant. Build the menu of things that your customers are going to buy from you and are going to thus generate revenue for you. Okay, so make sure that you're clear about that. I talk to a lot of business owners and they're not clear about their revenue streams. How will you make money? Right? That's the basic bottom line. How will you make money? Of course, we understand that you better be giving gifts to the customer. They're not going to just give us money just to give us money, right? Or for mediocre things. or for things that they can get elsewhere, that's very hard. But if you give them a gift, the idea is for them to be happy and love you. You love them, they love you back, and they allow you to have a profit because they know how hard you worked. They're going to pay for the business. You're going to get a salary, plus you're going to get a profit. And that's how you're going to be thriving. And we know that we need you to thrive, right? It's good for all of us. So that's revenue stream. So that's the customer side. Any questions about that side before I go to the next one side?
You're doing great, Danilo.
Yeah, is this helpful?
Awesome.
How do you guys feel? Let's have an emotional check here. How do you guys feel about this? Is it like meh, or like, oh my god, yeah, this is cool. I could use this.
This
Very
is wonderful.
interesting. It's great.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I'm on the right track then.
I
Just wanted to
actually
do
do
that
have a
check.
question before you move on.
Sure.
So when it comes to your customer base, so let's say your customer base is B2B and B2C. How do you try to, incorporate both without leaving out the other?
Oh, good question. We would have to look at your strategy, but that's why you want to segment and have a strategy for each segment, because sometimes the segments can be very different, right? And in that case, they're like very different, because one is a consumer that's looking out for themselves, right? And they want some kind of value. Like, I want a phone. I want the most modern phone with a good camera, all that good stuff. That's one thing. And that phone will cost them, let's say $500 or even $1,000. They're going to make that decision quick. If you're going after a company, oh my God, it's different. First of all, there's not one person. There's a committee buying, right?
Right.
So you got to talk to person A, B, and C, because no one person usually in a business makes the decision. So that's one thing. You're dealing with a committee. You're dealing with a longer sales cycle, probably more expensive products and services. So what I would recommend is that you create a business model canvas separate for each one of them. And you might want to have a website for consumers, and you might want to have a separate website for the business owners. Now remember, don't get put off by that, because remember that digital things cost almost nothing, right? So you having two websites did not add more cost to your ledger. It did add cost because you're going to have somebody that's going to have to develop that for you, but you can use the same template and just change the messaging, because you got to talk to the consumer differently than you do the business, right? They're looking for different things. So you got to shift your message somewhat. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
So I would almost create like two websites, and I would be careful. Like, I would be very careful about pursuing two markets, because that costs a lot of money. So you have to make sure that you have the actual capital to pull that off. If you don't have the capital and you're trying to bootstrap it, it's very hard, because we have limited resources, and yet we're trying to get two different groups to fall in love with us. And it just kind of gets us into trouble. So we have to be careful. If you're going to do that, you got to fund it. You got to have a budget for it. Make sense?
It does. I mean, I think the type of model that my business has, consumers aren't really the main source of revenue. B2B is, but it's, consumer is pretty much, let's just say for additional revenue. Okay,
perfect. Then you might make your website particularly speak to them, to the heart, for the business B2B, right? Talk their language, and then have a link for the individual accounts or consumer accounts. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But you focus on that number one person that you want to serve, or that number one entity that you want to serve. And then if 80% or 90% of your income comes from B2B, focus on B2B and make the other one kind of like a side thing. You might want to launch a campaign, but you're not going to invest the major dollars into that. You just have it there as a place that you can send folks, as a channel that you can send them to consume if they're consumers, right?
Got it. Thank you.
So yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. That was a great question. Okay, so we just covered the blue and the green and the revenue side of the pink side, right? So now we're going to go to this orange section in the expenses. So the first thing we have to think about, and this is very interesting, we got to talk about key partners. But I'm going to go back to this one, because the test of whether you understand the business model canvas is if I tell you in a week, hey, Carol, can you draw me the map? Can you draw me the 9 boxes from memory? Then you understand this. Okay, so check this out. You have the value proposition. We know that's the second step. The first thing is the customer. You see how those pillars are long and tall? You see that?
Yes.
Right? You got customers. It's long. Why? It's long because that is the key critical thing. Businesses serve human beings. So the most important thing is that customer. Guess who gets to serve those human beings? Other human beings, right? Those are the partners. That's why they're like pillars, and the value is right in the middle because the value is given to human beings and it's created by human beings. That's why those three boxes, and remember, it's a ledger. So start with the base and think, oh, I have expenses and I have revenue. All of you know how to do that already. So when you're drawing this map, think about revenue and think about expenses. That's the first two blocks. Then you know that the value proposition goes on in the middle, and that's given to a customer. And then on the other side, it's made by people for those other people, right? So partners are all the people that you need in your corner to help you build it. I put a pit crew here because that race car driver, without all those pit crew helping them, that car's not going to go 200 miles an hour on that track unless there's a team of people helping you drive the car around in that race that we're in. Okay? So what are some of the key partners that you need? And this is very straightforward. This will go faster because you need a marketing team, right? Marketing is one of the most important things you can be doing in your business. You need a marketing team. You need a web designer, a graphic designer, copywriter, and I can go on and on and on and on, right? About all the people you need in your marketing team. You need sales, right? You need sales support or maybe at first you're the salesperson, right? But you might, once you start growing, you might need a sales assistant to help you get some of these, onerous tasks out of your desk so that you can run faster and go talk to more people and make more sales, right? Inside sales staff, account managers, right? Once you have very established business, you're going to need a team. At first might be one or, it's not a huge team, but you need to think who's going to help you with marketing, who's going to help you with sales, who's going to help you with the operation, right? Who's your lawyer? Who's your HR advisor, payroll advisor? Who are you going to hire for that? How about and by the way, even if you're a single person company, you should have a payroll and you should be paying yourself. Who's going to help you with that? You need that person on your team. Customer service representatives, vendors are part of your team, right? For operations. You can't deliver the goods if you don't have your vendors giving you what you need, or maybe even manufacturers that deliver the goods to you. Many times those guys can be sources of capital. Like vendors can give you credit, manufacturers can give you credit, and you can leverage that credit so that that's not coming out of your pocket to buy those materials. Maybe it'll come out of your pocket in 45 days or in 60 days or in 90 days if you're really good at negotiating, right? So that could be a source of assistance to you and help. And then there's also financial partners. You need a banker. And I'll tell you this from the heart. When COVID happened, that was a test of your bank. Did they help you or did they give you the cold shoulder? Because that was the moment that you knew, oh, my banker's on my side. They helped me. They tried to help me. They were advising me. They gave me things. If they disappeared and ignored you, oh, you're banking with the wrong people, right? So bankers are part of your team, right? They can each give you money. They can give you access to funds, a line of credit, all kinds of things, loans, right? Accountants are part of your financial partners, grant writers, creditors, and on and on and on. We can go on with this list, right? But marketing, sales, operations, financial are the key areas of your small business. You need people to help you. They don't have to be employees, mind you. You can contract them. They can be volunteers, right? I'm a partner for all of you guys. If you need one-on-one consulting, if you need me to check your one-page business plan, I'm there for you. Put me in marketing. I'm on your marketing team, right? You don't have to pay a penny. That's the beauty of Strive 305. So include me, include Scale Up, include FIU SBDC, include all the other partners that we deal with in Miami-Dade County. They all want to help you. I have never seen so many partners wanting to be on your team. So you need to be, like we did when we were kids, that we were pickup game or whatever, and we picked two captains, and then the captains picked, I want you. Do like that. Who do you want on your team for these critical areas of your business? Don't do it alone, guys. Do not. You're making a huge mistake if you're going to go on this long trip across the country by yourself, right? and not connected to a bunch of people that are going to help you in case you get in trouble. And hopefully they'll help you not get in trouble proactively, right? So keep that in mind. Key activities, right? Those partners have to do work, right? They have to help you in some way. And so what are the key activities in any business? Well, marketing, sales, operations, and finance. Those are the 5 key areas of any small business, right? Value creation, marketing, sales, operations, and finance. We're talking about value creation right now, right? So that's why I didn't add it as a bullet point. We talked about the value proposition and how we give this to the customer. So in addition to value creation, you got marketing, sales, operations, and finance. And remember, there's probably be 100 activities that you have to do, but 20 activities are the key. They're going to give you 80% of your results. So we're not looking to put and fill out every single activity that the business model entails. No, you're going to use the 80-20 rule, which means that 20% of the activities that could possibly be done will give you 80% of the results. Don't ask me why that works, but if you look at nature, right? Go to the ice cream shop and ask the ice cream people which are the most popular flavors. Guarantee your money back. I'll buy you a cone of ice cream if I'm lying, if I'm not telling you something accurate. They will tell you that 2 of the 50 flavors are the most popular and account for the bulk of the sales. It happens across the board. Everything you sell is not going to sell the same quantities. So the 80-20 rule applies. 20% gives you 80% of the results, right? 20% of the inputs give you 80% of the outcomes or results. Keep that in mind. We don't need every activity. We just need to know the key activities. Okay. That being said, then we have key resources. So you have your partners. They engage in doing work for you and helping you physically or in some other way that's close to physical, right? They're doing something for you. They're moving the ball down the field for you. Well, guess what? They're going to need resources. You're going to need resources to give them. So you might need resources like human talent. I don't like to call human resources because resources tend to be used up. And we never want to use up a human being, right? We want to invest in growing that human being, not use them up like gasoline. I had a full tank. Now I have an empty tank. We used it all up. Nope. We don't do that to human beings. So it's human talent and we grow human talent. The next thing is you might have land or a building or machines that we need to do the work, right? You might have digital resources like software and systems, right? Intellectual property could be a resource. And of course, one of the key resources for sure is financial, right? Capital. We need money. It takes money to make money. That's not a myth. That's for real. We need to make investments. Customers are not free. You have to pay for them. Yeah, the first couple are free, but if you want to scale, you're going to have to go market and advertise and sell. And all of that has a cost. So yeah, you have to buy customers. They're not free. And that's why you should know what's the client acquisition cost that I have. So maybe I spend $100 to acquire a client. But guess what? That client over the course of 10 years, which is the average time they spend with a company, like your barber. How often are you with a barber? I would argue 10 years because the only reason I will stop going to my barber is because I moved. And the research shows that every 10 years people move. On average, some people don't, right? Some people stay in their childhood home forever. But on average, people leave or move every 10 years. So I love my barber, but I'm only going to be with the barber for 10 years. So every time I go there, let's say I pay $30. So that's 30 times 12 for every month that I go for my haircut and times 10. So that gives me a lifetime value of that customer. Now I can make a decision about how much I'm willing to spend to get that customer into our, get them to accept the gift that we have for them. I'm willing to spend this money to get in front of them and show them how great we are for them. And so $100 is maybe not nothing. Maybe that's perfectly makes sense, right? Because you're going to get 20, 30,000 in the B2B, Carol. My God, your customers might be worth tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, right? So why wouldn't you pay $100 to bring a customer of that caliber into the fold, right? So think about that. What are the key resources that we need? Money is one of them, but there's other things like human talent. Guess what the key resource in human talent is? That's you. You guys are all amazing human beings. So all of you are a key resource for your business. Your talent is the most important thing you have. And don't ever forget that. And don't ever sell it short. Don't ever underprice yourself. Make sure you're charging what you're worth. Now, land, building, machines, all those things, it just takes money, right? Money is abundant. There's more money now in the world than there's ever been, guys. And there used to be there was no such thing as a $1 trillion company. Now we have like 3, 4, or 5 $1 trillion companies. Can you imagine that? $1 trillion. I can't even wrap my head around what that really means. I can think billions, but once it gets into trillions, I can't even fathom it. That's how big some of these companies are. So there's nothing but money. The question is, how do we get it, right? And the business model canvas, and the one-page business plan is how we get to that money, right? And you're learning how to do that. So the key resources are important to understand. And of course, we have the cost structure or the expenses of your business. This is very important because you can't just go looking at revenue. You also got to look at profit. And that's revenue minus your costs, right? That's your profit in dollars. And then you can calculate your profit margin. Now, I'll say this before I get into these bullet points. One of the things that you should look at, a business model we know we have a really good business model when that business model gives the business owner a high profit. If it gives you a very little profit, then that means the customer does not think the value proposition is that special. When they know that it's special, they will give you that profit. And it's painful sometimes. I'll be honest. I've launched businesses or ideas or projects that nobody wanted to buy. I've also had hits, right? We all have hits and we have our failures. You can't just pump out #1 singles, right? Nobody has ever done it. Elvis, Michael Jackson, they all have hits and they have some duds. It's just the way it is. And you have to look to be pumping out hits. You got to pump out the music if you want to have hits. So you got to fail. And you never fail. Like Jay-Z says, he says something, I love it. Will not fail ever. That's Jay-Z's line. I love it. I stole it from him because what he means by that is that he never fails ever, because every time he makes something that didn't turn out the way he wanted, he learns from that. Next time he applies it, right? So there's no such thing as failure. Learning. So, and the business model canvas gives you a structured way of learning in your business, which is what I love it too. It's a learning tool because you get better at figuring these relationships out, and that will improve your batting average later in your career. And even today, right? In 6 months, your batting average will be better if you really learn this technique and this material. So, what is a healthy profit margin? So I'll tell you, if you are a Winn-Dixie or Publix and you're making a 4% net margin, which means after everything's said and done, you're making 4%, 5%. That's the way it is in the grocery industry, right? It's a model where you only make money at scale. So if you only have one Publix, you're in trouble. You need a lot of Publixes and a lot of Winn-Dixies to make money because your profit margin is this big. And God forbid somebody comes and tears down the tower of ragu jars, right? And it all comes on the floor and it spills everywhere and breaks because there goes your margin right there, right? So it's vicious, right? Distributors, like wholesale distributors or value-added distributors, can expect 8, 9, 10%. Service providers can expect 15, 20%, maybe more. They're really good, and they're really good at being entrepreneurs and small business owners. So you should shoot for a net profit of around 20%. That's nice. That's a nice place to be. That means your business model is working because the customer is so happy. They love you so much. The thing you sell is so delicious that, yeah, I'll pay for it. I just came back from Hawaii, and I can tell you one thing. Things are not cheap there, right? They're very expensive. And, I can be a cheapskate, I'll be honest. And we went to a restaurant that was called Mama's Fish House. And I was skeptical. And I went there, and oh my God, it was butter. Everything was butter. Everything was delicious. And I knew that it was a special treat, a special moment, right? Celebration. I was turning 50. So I did not begrudge that bill. I enjoyed it with my wife. Right. And I understood it then, the cheapskate part of me, okay, I get it now. Look at this beautiful place that we're at. and celebrating this special moment with the most special person in my life. And I paid, whatever, and I paid it with a smile. And they are bringing like fresh fish, these amazing, it was a gift, really. The drinks were delicious, perfectly concocted. The fish had just been swimming around not too long ago before it found its way, sadly. I don't like killing things, onto my plate, right? So that's the gift that they gave us. And I accepted the gift, and I didn't begrudge the bill. And so I'm sure they're making money. I was happy, they're happy. That's the life we want to live, guys. So you want to shoot for about 20% net profit. After you pay all the bills, you got 20%. And by the way, one of the bills is your salary. You need to be working and getting paid for your work in your business. And we can talk about that if that's a problem for you. We can talk about it in our one-on-one. But the first expense is your salary. You're the most valuable asset. We got to pay you. So even after the salary and all the other expenses of working with the partners, we should have 15 to 20%. That's where you want to be. Net profit, not gross profit. Gross profit needs to be bigger than that, right? So just keep that in mind. And how do you know these things if you're not tracking your cost structure? If you don't have your business plan? Oh, sorry. I just hit my microphone. How do you know these things? You just keep them swirling in your head, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years pass by. You're still hustling. You're making money. Like, you're getting paid. You're self-employed is what you are. So you are making money in the sense that you're providing a service and you're getting paid for it. But is there a profit? Is this business model working? Is it ever going to be able to scale? Are you ever going to be able to live the dream, which is multiple six-figure income plus your profit? Right? That's where the business model, we have to get really intentional about it and really serious about our business. And decide, I'm going to take this to the next level. I want that dream that Danny's talking about. That's exactly how I see it. So we got to understand that we have a fixed cost in our business, right? Fixed costs are those things that are called overhead. You got to pay for the light. You sell one widget or no widgets or a million widgets, you still got to pay for the light, right? Those are fixed costs, things that you have to pay. You have to pay the rent. You got to pay the light. You got to pay for certain things. There's no way around it. Whether you sell one item or no items or a million items, you got to pay for those bills. And then variable costs are the costs that are the cost of goods sold, right? Which means that if I'm selling a pie and I'm selling the pie for $10, maybe that pie costs me $4 to make. So I will have $4 of variable costs for every pie I sell. Right? So if I sell 100 pies, then I have a higher cost. If I sell 1,000 pies and so forth, right? So just understand that you need to get a handle on your cost structure. And you won't know that unless you know your revenue. You won't know your revenue until you know who your customer is. You won't know who your customer is really and how you can serve them unless you have your value proposition and all this stuff worked out. So that's the idea, right? Of getting your cost structure set up. And basically, that is the one-page business plan. It seems simple, and it really is, but you have to think through all these critical questions, right? And you really got to dig deep into every one of these squares, because it's not a 1 hour thing. It's probably like, you really got to work on it. Maybe 10 hours, maybe even more, depending on where you are in terms of research for your business. Some of you are just starting out from scratch. So you're guessing about a lot of these things. That's why iteration and prototyping and getting something in front of the customer right away without it costing you money, like the Fitbit strategy, is beautiful for you. Some of you already have been in business for 2-3 years, so you already have some revenue. You have some data. You already know some of this, right? But maybe you want to launch a new endeavor or a new line of products or a new service. You can use the business model canvas for that, right? The one-page business plan. You can write it for a project. It doesn't necessarily have to be for a whole business. It could be for a project or a new line that you're launching. And if you have already some track record, you can really get to work on really filling this out completely, because you know what you're doing now. What's the holdup in getting to the next level? How do we double your sales and double your profit? Work it out on the business model canvas. And the fact that you already have data is beautiful, because you're not guessing anymore. That's the tricky part about starting up. You have to kind of guess and kind of like have to feel your way through the marketplace. And hopefully you're smart about it and take the iterative approach. And you don't invest all this money on putting something out that you don't know if the customer is going to really buy. So, and if some of you have 10 years or more of experience and you really have a business that's really popping, it even helps then because you can put the ideas into the one-page business plan, and then you hand that over to a professional to put it into the polished essay that I call for the banker, right? Because you need to get that $1 million loan, or even smaller loans. They're going to want to see that. And then you're going to need financial statements, right? Which are not included in the business model canvas. You don't have a financial statement, but we do have the ledger. So we do know the basics of that, right? We know the key expenses and the key revenue drivers. So we do know that. Although I don't have the full, profit and loss statement, cash flow, balance sheet. I don't have that. Also, it's implied that we're going to study the competition, right? And we're going to see what the competition is doing, right? We're going to go study them, and we're going to get ideas for the value proposition, right? One of the things you can do for the value proposition and exercise is go spy on your competitors and see what they're doing. See what customers are saying about them. What are the gaps that they're not filling that you could fill, right? Find the gaps, because if they're already doing it, why are you going to come and say, oh, I want to do it too? They were there first. They've been doing it. So it's going to be harder for you to take business from them, right? So find the gaps where you can create a value proposition that the customer can't get anywhere else. So I hope you guys have seen how powerful this can be. It's multifaceted in terms of the value that it can give you. It will help you learn about your market, learn about your small business, and it's going to help you plan so that when you go out and you do whatever you're doing come tomorrow, on Monday, you have targets, right? The business plan can help you set your goals for the week, for the month, for the year. We're in November. Before you know it, we're already at the holidays. So now is the perfect time for you to sit down and work this stuff out so that you can have a very good 2023. And it's vital and more important than ever, because they're predicting that it's going to be a bumpy ride. We're already feeling it, right? We don't have to imagine it too hard. Inflation, fuel costs, housing crisis, right? Everything's going up and up and up and up. So we have to be proactive and figure out what are we going to do? How are we going to play our cards in 2023 to ensure that it's a great year? And don't forget, COVID was horrible for some business owners, but I don't want to say it to sound, please don't take it the wrong way, but for some others, business boomed, right? So what was the difference there? Probably a business owner that had a wide view of their plan and was able to pivot during a moment of crisis, because they already knew how things were laid out. When you already kind of know how things are laid out in your business and in the marketplace, when that weird thing happens that nobody expected, like a pandemic that killed, 1 million Americans, when that happens, you're more flexible. You have better chances of surviving it, because you've been playing the game really clearly, not things swirling in your head. Put it on paper. You see the relationships, you see what you're doing. And you can see now with the business model canvas how you might even create a pivot to a new direction. Oh, people can't come and have lunch at your restaurant? No problem. Curbside pickup. The problem is still that the customer still gets the gifts, delicious food. They can come pick it up. They're just going to have to eat it at their house. Some restaurants did that and they thrived. Others, I saw them shut down. So I hope you see the power of this. Don't overthink business plans. You don't have to write an essay. It doesn't have to be boring. But guys, you have to make decisions about where you want to drive this vehicle called your business on this long adventure that we're all on. Okay? Know that I'm there with you. So if you need help, you can reach out to me. You got Scale Up 305, the Haitian American Chamber of Commerce. They also have other resources. They're already on your team because they're here. You're here today. So keep striving, and I hope this was very useful for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Danilo, for your presentation. It was very, very interesting. I learned a lot myself, and I know that the people who participated also have learned a lot. I don't know if you have a few questions. I know the time is up, but I wouldn't want anybody to leave without giving them this opportunity to ask like a few questions. Maybe we're gonna take just
Yes.
What do you think, guys?
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. I'm ready.
No question for me.
Miss Gasoline has one.
I don't have a question, you guys. I'm at an event and I'm sneaking to talk. I just want to say, Mr. Danilo, this was so thorough. This was amazing. This is my first time here. Thanks to my sister inviting me to this Zoom. Mr. Danilo, being that you connect with them, it would be awesome if you guys can have a Southwest location to help the businesses in the Southwest area. So Hawkoff in Miami, North Miami, and then one in the Southwest area would be amazing, because this was awesome. I mean, so much knowledge in 2 hours, within 2 hours, an hour and a half to be exact. And again, you was thorough. So I appreciate the opportunity of being here tonight, sneaking on y'all Zoom.
Thank you, Ms. Gasoline. Good to see you.
We have a question on the Zoom. I'm going to read it to you, Danilo.
Yes.
To use yourself as an ideal customer when looking at the customer demographics.
Can you repeat the first part of that again? I didn't catch it.
It is wise to use yourself as an ideal customer when looking at the customer demographics.
The answer to that question is yes and no, right? Yes and no. It's a good place for you to get the inspiration, for you to have to get to work, right? Start with what you feel doesn't exist in the world. What's not there, your services are, you have a need and you don't see it being met. It's a good, the gentleman who started Samuel Adams Beer, I forget his name, Coach, I believe is his last name, but don't quote me on that. He had a book out and it was called Quench Your Own Thirst, right? So that means that, that inspiration, that observation, that you found a gap or you found something that's not in the marketplace because you can't buy it, you need it, is a good starting point. But what you need to do is test it to see if that's the way the customer sees it. Because like I said, I've had ideas where I thought, for sure, I wish this existed. I built that thing and I went to the customer and they liked it. They told me they loved it. But as I iterated and I tested the idea further, guess what? They loved it, but they didn't want to pay for it. So therefore, I can't make money off of that idea. And remember, everybody has to win. If not, what are we doing, right? The customer has to win and I have to win. So if I love the idea, they love it too, but they don't love it enough to pay enough for me to generate a profit, then I cannot really pursue that idea, right? So the answer to your question is a little bit of both, right? Start with that inspiration that you have. I'm a spiritual person, so, something put that idea in your head and your heart. You saw something. That's great. Take that and run with it. Go test it. Use the business model canvas to figure out how you think it's going to work and then put it out to work in the real world. Test it in some way. And if you want to know how to do that, and I can give you some ideas, you can reach out to me one-on-one and we can discuss how to do that.
Danilo, if they would like to reach out to you one-on-one, do you want to leave your contact details on the
Yes.
chat? Yes.
Yes. So let me do that now. Please reach out to me via email, Danilo Vargas at miamidade.gov. Okay. And I just want to share something else from the heart. I mean, with the mayor's office and with the mayor, this is genuine. She cares about small business owners. And the reason she cares, guys, is because she was one herself. She started Catalyst Miami, which is a nonprofit business. Okay. They're still a business, even though they're a nonprofit. She started it in the 1990s. So guess what? She knows how hard it is to build a small business. She knows how important our business owners are. And I've had the honor of being assigned to helping you all. And she's investing in Scale Up 305 and in these programs. And for 2022, 2023, we're investing even more. So we're going to be having more resources, and I'll be coming back to announce all these goodies that are coming. So please stay tuned because more stuff is coming. Now is the time for you to pursue your dream. Let's get intentional about it and let's make it happen.
There's somebody asking if we have resources in West Palm Beach or Boca Raton. Unfortunately, for now, it is
So right now it's Miami-Dade, right? Yeah.
Yes, but since we having a lot of online resources also, so wherever you're at, you are able also to benefit from our online resources. You should also probably Drive 305 because you will have more details. You will have more details about all of the other training available online.
That's right. That's right. So reach out to us. I mean, we're open to collaborating and helping as much as we can.
Yes. Well, thank you then. Thank you so much, Danilo, for making yourself available always for Scale Up 305. Thank you to everyone who came to participate today. We are going to have more presentation, more webinars for you, and we will let you know. Please follow us on our social media, Scale Up 305 on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and then also you can follow us on Hackuf. And you will be you will know you will get all the information about the next presentation. Thank you so much all. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you, Nayed.
I thank you.
Okay.
Thank you again.
And I already
Thank
sent
you, everyone.
via email.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Keep striving. Stay safe.